Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my repeat guest, coming back again, is Duane Light, and he's going to certainly shed some light on a few situations today. 1, 5 essential skills to resolve any legal issue. Boy, I think every single one of us at some point in our lives has a legal issue that comes up. And one of the big things is we don't even know what questions to ask. So we're going to go through those today. Also, how to powerfully navigate your legal challenges with calmness, clarity, and kindness, because we know when we're dealing with anything legal, it's going to get our goat, and that's when the anger starts coming out. He says the problem is clients often come to him with much anxiety, sadness, or anger, that they feel a loss of what to do. They're very often losing sleep and experiencing negative impacts on their relationships, work, and joy in life. This is understandable since an important life issue is at stake for them, and the legal system can be distressing and expensive. With his 25 years as a licensed holistic attorney and training coach and meditation teacher, he's learned and developed essential tools that can help his clients become more calm, clear, courageous, so that they can effectively navigate their legal issues. And if you go back to the show that we did, all you have to do is just put in Duane Light at selfdiscoverymedia.com search engine. His other show will come up, and this show will come up, and you will see actually what is the holistic legal and why he went that way. And I do invite you to go back and listen to that. But today it is about those terrifying things of going to the lawyer or having to face something legal, because immediately we feel intimidated. Welcome to the show, Duane.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. It's nice to be back. I love your energy and love what you're doing here.
Right back at you. And for those that are just listening, he has a sensational background here, a beautiful library in Scotland. He shows me he's read every book. So, quintessentially, you've done the research for the people, right? So you're the lawyer, but your approach to it isn't kind of to the letter of the law, or the cold, calculated side of the law, but bringing more of that holistic, calming, caring approach to it, where people feel that they're not under the gun, because so many times when they have to face a lawyer or have to face an issue, they almost feel they're at the firing squad.
Yes, that's a good description. And I want to talk about that for a minute. We have a few different psychological, neurological states we can be in, and one is called the dorsal, and that's the fight or flight or run away or play dead, right? And we don't want to be making decisions in that state of mind, or taking actions or flashing off emails in that state of mind.
Or tweets.
Or tweets, whatever. Yes, we don't want it. There are famous people who send tweets that they should not send.
Exactly. No filter.
No filter, yes. So anyway, a lot of my teaching, I'm a certified meditation teacher and emotional work facilitator. So I've studied these states and how to deal with those kind of emotional issues that come up in tough legal issues, and how to slow down and pause and work with the emotions and come back to a grounded, centered, even compassionate, emotionally intelligent approach. And I'll give some case examples later if you wish, but this just reduces conflict. It makes you feel better about your life. It saves a lot of money. It gets through issues faster. So the 5 steps when an issue comes up, when you're charged by something, you get a letter from a government agency or from an attorney or somebody that you're in conflict with, you receive a text or an email. The natural emotional response is to flash back, to do something right away, because you want to clear that emotion.
Yes.
You feel
Yes.
like, oh, if I respond, okay, I can release that emotion. But the problem is if you act in that dorsal mode, that reptilian
Yeah.
mode, you're going to increase the conflict, right? So the first step is to graciously pause. And I call it graciously pause because you want to create some time and space for yourself to go within and deal with those emotions. So the gracious part is just letting the other person know with a text or email or whatever that, wow, this is a big issue for me. I want to sit with this for a few days so I can respond intelligently and kindly, and I'll get back to you. So you make sure you respond and keep the connection with the person, whoever it is, and then you do your inner work.
Right.
And I have well over a dozen ways to do that. There's meditations, there's calming music, sacred reading, going into nature, taking a hot bath, enjoying beauty, and for deeper emotional issues to really get some help going within and dealing with that.
You can't you can't find clarity when you're in chaos,
Right.
right? And the thing about feeling something, why you're going to a lawyer in the first place, there's a certain kind of injustice or something that needs to be clear, something that needs to be concise, the line being drawn. And if you are uptight or anxious, everything about you is tense. And the blood flow to the brain is tense as well, and you
Yes.
cannot see clearly what's in front of you. So I love that, the graceful pause. Take that deep breath, get centered, because you're going to this person for clarity. And if you don't meet that person openly, how are you going to receive clarity?
Yes. Yes. So that second step after you graciously pause is to compassionately work through your emotions. And the work that I do is not about repressing or suppressing the emotions, because that just doesn't work. Because out of stress, in a period of stress, they will pop out.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt if
Yes.
you're holding back the anger, the tiger, right? Going to
Something will
pop out
explode.
at the worst time, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want that in deposition or in trial or something. So you can passionately deal with it. And the method I use is kind of a inner dialogue where you do sensing and you ask, well, what is up? What is asking for attention? It could be a thought, a belief, a sensation, an emotion. And you meet that as if it's a wounded child. And it may very well be a wounded
Yeah.
child or a
Yes.
wounded young adult,
Yes.
whatever. And you treat it as a compassionate parent or your favorite enlightened spiritual being, to treat yourself with that kind of care and compassion rather than being angry or upset at the emotion or trying to get rid of it or force it to go away, which doesn't happen. You connect in with it, and it's like, I'm here for you.
Right.
What's going on? What can I do for you right now? What do you need? And you dialogue and work with that, and you work through the emotions so it sincerely calms. And that angry or hurt or afraid part of you doesn't have to jump out and start driving the bus, right?
Yeah, I think that you hit on something very big, as it's a huge topic of mine, and a book is going to be coming out about about the forgotten children, and that means the forgotten child inside of you. And I think most of our dysfunction today as a society is stemming from the way we've been brought up. And doesn't mean that's a reflection on parents, but they're bringing their kids up by the society's dictation, and we can see what's wrong out there. And it's almost been promoted, especially in the last few years, that it's okay to be angry first. Righteousness and justice, it's my anger, I'm right. And very often that does come from that inner insecurity. And if we don't recognize that, we're going to bring that wounded child. And that's going to be a whole different can of worms, isn't it? So I think kind of what you're saying, there's a lot of prep work you have to do before you even, address whatever that legal issue is.
Yes, definitely the prep work. Yes. So the first is that emotional calming, and there are some immediate steps you can take, some vagal response, physical things you do. One thing I do is just Qigong shaking or Tai Chi shaking, where you bounce on your knees and you can release some stress that way. So there's immediate steps, and then there's the deeper emotional work. And then after that, we also need to work with the mind. And what I teach and coach my clients to do is to revision the legal situation. Like a lot of people, understandably, have a very negative view of courts
Yeah.
and of attorneys. But if you walk into the courtroom and you're judgmental and afraid, and you see the judge as not trustworthy or not being fair, you have this anger, fear, etc., you're not going to come across well.
No.
Now, judges and juries rule in favor of people that they like and trust. So you want to walk in and see the judge as a human being who has his or her own issues in life. And you really want to like look them in the eyes in this friendly way, even smile to them. And I'll tell you, that is so refreshing to them.
Right. Right.
And whoever's watching, if there's a jury, the other attorney, the other party, you come across as just a friendly, calm, competent person. And especially, I've been in court many times where the attorney on the other side or person on the other side is being evasive or dishonest or manipulative or angry. And the judge is sitting up there trying to decide who to trust.
Right. Yes.
So you're authentic, you're honest, you're humble, you're friendly, you're fully present.
And you're open. You haven't gone there with a dictation. You've gone there with an openness to negotiate.
Yes. Yes. So anyway, it's incredibly powerful. So part of it is reframing your attitude toward the law in general, toward judges and courts, through attorneys and the other person. We try to bring in some empathy and compassion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen.
There's always a story, though, isn't there? There's always, two sides of the story, and why is that person doing that? And are they just out to get you because they don't like you, or is it a reflection of their own injured selves that they're just lashing out at someone and this is it, right? So I think certainly in the courts, and we're going to be going through all the other numbers as well, but certainly in the courts, compassion is not what we see much of, or is not promoted much of. And when it comes to kind of preparing for court, it always seems very strategic, but it is never about bring your whole beingness in trust, in faith, in calmness, and ready to receive, openly. We're never, ever guided to do that. And if we did, we wouldn't have such a volatile arena.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I can give you a quick example of this in action. I had one client who was in a divorce action, and they were dealing with child custody. And the other party, this applies to males and females, but the other party was just being combative and accusative and negative, and making some claims that weren't exactly true.
Right.
And my client, I coached them to be fair and open and calm and hold a sense of justice and rightness. And when they were in court, also they had to meet with the family court mediator first. And the mediator reports to the judge about what's going on. And my client was very fair and offered suggestions for the other partner that would be helpful to them about time to visit the children or have the children or pick them up for school or whatever. While the other person was being very hard. So the report to the judge, the report to the judge, and the way my client was in court, the judge ended up trusting them.
Well, because you can't think rationally if you're thinking in anger, and really, and especially when it comes to appointing, guardianship over children, you want to know that the people, there is the kindness, caring, lovingness first with a rationale around it, not like, I just want the kids because she doesn't have them, and that only the children lose there. Ultimately, the parents lose too, but the children lose. So if you've got somebody that is showing a kind, compassionate rationale, then it's a no-brainer, because go and get some counseling before you are going to have, visitation of those children, because otherwise you're going to impart that anger onto your children just to get back at your partner, where really the issue lies within you and you need to do the work to sort it out, right?
Exactly. One of my colleagues in this specific area tells her clients, what is more important to you, your children's mental and health and emotional health, or getting back at your ex-partner?
Mm-hmm.
Very stark question.
And they will say, oh, of course, my children, while they're glaring at the partner,
Yes.
because they don't want to be seen as jerks.
Yeah.
But
Right.
then it comes into, as I say, so many children are injured by divorce or anything going on with the parents. The children are going to feel it. Right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I myself are divorced. In fact, it was my children that told me to divorce because they were teenagers, at least at that point. And I thought I was protecting them, and they ended up them protecting me. Right. So very often, if a child is old enough, let them in and let them have a voice. Let
Yes.
let the child write to the judge of what they would like to see, because it is about them. Right. And very often we never
Yes.
ever allow that child to have a voice, do we?
That's right. Yes.
So kindness and caring and composure is something that really, it's in any arena that you step into, should come first. But most certainly in a legal one, it doesn't. So what is the next step?
Well, the next step, once you've paused and worked with the emotions and reframed, revision the mind so you can be more positive and composed, as you said, the next is a practical one: to gather information, to meditate, pray, get clear guidance, talk to your attorney, and determine a course of action that is as strong and powerful as you need to be, but also has that quality of fairness, empathy, compassion, respect.
Yes. Would you say that I've always, in my coaching things, always got people to write things down, either write themselves a letter. In this case, write out all the angst, the fear, the upset, write it all out. The lawyer can see it, they can feel the pain, they can feel the anguish, but amongst that, they now see where the real, the issues that are to be addressed. Because when you say to someone, okay, what's the issue? Suddenly blank. Or blah, 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 and what you wanted to say doesn't come out. So I've always been an advocate of write it down. In whatever state you're in, write it down. And then as you address each situation, you're diffusing it, you're putting a solution to it. So then things become calmer in the way you view it. Are you an advocate for that?
That's one technique you can use, especially if you want to help clear the emotions. That's
Yes.
one way to do it, is write the angry letter,
yes,
and then burn it or toss
yes,
it.
spend it, spend it and delete it.
kind of get that out. So that's one way to do that. And as far as working with the lawyer or informing the lawyer, tell them what's going on, but still especially communicate to the attorney that you want to take this fair, balanced, compassionate, empathetic approach. And this also comes down to the choice of attorneys. Some attorneys are just old school, fight fire with fire, burn everybody up.
Everybody ends up in ashes, but they get paid.
Yeah, the lawyers get more money. I've seen attorneys increase conflict.
Right.
Awful.
Yes.
To make tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars more. So choosing the right attorney, and then this is part of the guiding the attorney. You say, yes, I want to achieve my objectives, but I want to do it in a respectful, kind way. So combining strength with empathy.
Two things that should always be in balance, but isn't. And I actually remember when it was coming to divorce my husband, I went to a divorce workshop put on by a lawyer. And he said, you don't want to hire me. This is what this workshop is all about. These are the steps that you can do. And this way, unless it then becomes a fight over the children or this or that, but these are the steps that you can do so that you don't get me in. Because when I come in, it's not about you anymore. It's about the lawyer and how much they can manipulate. And unfortunately, yes, you've got many lawyers out there that have gone a completely different way, thank God. But when we talk, at the top, we talked about the fear of lawyers and the system. We've seen too many movies. We've heard too many stories of the injustices, and that it seemed to have been hijacked by the lawyer's agenda, and rather than really what the issue or the truth was. So knowing who you're going to is something really, really important. And if they're not empathetic, if they're just looking at calculation, then they're not the lawyer for you if you've got a sensitive situation.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Do you find that lawyers, especially when it comes to working with sensitivity, divorce or children, or, things that really kind of do affect the heart and the soul, do you find that there are more lawyers coming up now going, no, I don't want to be the cutthroat anymore. I want to put, the human conscience up there rather than the calculation of, who's right, who's wrong. Do you think it's happening? Do you think there's more of them out there?
I know it's happening. And
Yay!
just before you asked that question, I was thinking about that. So I am an openly holistic attorney, right?
Right.
I'm in Northern California, but I was the first one to come out of the closet. Right?
Yes. Holistic attorney, what?
Yeah, but now there are several, and especially in the realm of family law and divorces and child custody, there are more and more attorneys who are doing collaborative law. And that is taking pretty much my approach. Mine might be a little higher vibration, a little bit more spiritual, meditation focused, but there are a lot of, actually, there's meditation being taught in some law schools now.
Yes, thank goodness.
Yeah, but there are attorneys out there, many in that realm, in the family law realm, who might also be counselors or who take that approach of working cooperatively with the other attorney and with the interests of the children in mind. If there are children, and looking at their future lives, they're going to do better when the parents are respectful to each other. So yes, you can find lawyers who will take that approach. And I always recommend for people to interview 3 or 4 or 5 attorneys. And also by looking at attorneys' websites, you can often tell if there's a search and destroy type or the collaborative win-win.
Very often you can look at a website. I do with everybody, and I find that, okay, I've just seen your website. It's very glitzy, this or that. It doesn't represent you at all. So, if that lawyer's not willing to give you 20 minutes or half an hour of their time as an introduction to see if you were fit for each other, do you want to be with that lawyer? Because you're placing in trust with them something that's extremely vulnerable, including yourself. And do you want to know, just like you want to, there's a doctor looking after you, this lawyer is kind of your doctor at this time, and you're asking them to fix a problem. And if you don't have that synergy and you don't think that they have your best interest at heart, it's just a notch or it's just another dollar sign, then move on to another one until you do. And share this show and his previous show about being a holistic lawyer, because the more we know kind of the work you do, the more we're actually going to demand other lawyers to step up and do it. Add some humanity to your approach, please.
Yes. Yeah,
it's not just about addressing cold, calculated situations. There's always the emotional component in it. That is the human emotion. And if you're not taking care of the whole emotion, and you're basically just band-aiding the situation, aren't you? You're not getting to the root of it.
Yes. I could share another case that came to mind as you were saying that. I had one case, I actually got it a few weeks before trial. The previous attorney was so anxiety ridden that she was making her client more anxious. And this attorney just couldn't handle the case going to trial, so she called me in. So I spent a weekend going through the boxes of documents, the depositions and financial papers and real estate papers. But the story was that these two women had been friends, close, intimate friends for many years, and they decided to do a business project together. One was going to invest some hundreds of thousands of dollars into a commercial building that the other one was going to remodel.
Mm.
So the investment happened, the remodeling started happening. It wasn't managed all that well.
Uh-huh.
And then the 2008 real estate crash hit, and the project was just a huge loss.
Right.
So they went into pretty bitter
Mm.
litigation. And I was reading the deposition of the other person, and I found out that she was a nurse and that she had created a nonprofit to help indigent people with their health needs. A really beautiful project.
Right.
So I emailed her attorney and I said, I see that your client is doing this wonderful work in the world with her nonprofit. It would be nice to bring this case to a close so she can get back to doing
Right.
that wonderful work. And he immediately emailed me back. He said, this is great. This will help. So of course he passed that on to the client. So the next morning was the trial. We showed up at 9 a.m. and the judge often gives you one last chance to settle before the trial starts. So he said, I'll give you guys time to talk if you want. I'll come back in half an hour. So the other woman in the case left her attorney, walked across the room to me. This never happens, right? And she comes up to me and she says, she was Chinese, and she said, Mr. Light, I feel that you are an honorable person. And because you're here, I'm willing to discuss this case and try to resolve it.
Case in point.
Yeah.
Right? When you've got somebody that's really there looking at the root cause of the thing and saying, look, come on, we've a tornado's being created here and everybody's caught up in it, nobody knows where to land. And the stress, you forget why you're there, or you forget what you want to resolve. And when there's somebody, take the deep breath, let's bring it down a notch. Let's really look at why you were friends in the first place. Right. And then it can be, I didn't want to go down this way, but was led. And you hear that over and over again, that I just wanted a peaceful resolution, and it ended up being a volcanic war, so good for you. And that would have had a huge impact on the other lawyer, perhaps on changing his practice or hers.
I think they got to see that one little statement of empathy and recognition of something good in the other person that totally diffused the conflict. He got to see that in action, and maybe he did start to use that in his cases more.
So did you have to, did you resolve things before the judge came back?
Yes, took 15 minutes. Basically, my client didn't have any money. She didn't have any resources. Even if the other person won, there wasn't anything that could really be done.
It was just, I won, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just about fighting at that point. And my client was also suing her. I can't remember what it was, the details of it. But anyway, it didn't make sense to go to trial and spend money on lawyers. So it resolved. But the nice thing was, and this has happened several times in my career, where the person on the other side of the aisle with the other attorney ends up liking and trusting me more than their own attorney.
I think what it is that, I don't know what law school is like now, but, from what we've seen, I've known quite a number of lawyers, as friends and things in my time. It really is about the end goal. What is that end agenda? It's very calculated, very kind of within the dockets of the law. And just because something's being put into law doesn't always make it right. Yes. And, everything can be negotiated and talked about if it's come at from a nice, calm perspective. And we're living in such a volatile world right now, where everybody is so stressed out. We just don't need this in our courts as well, especially when it comes into family court, because what we're really all looking for is that deep breath and calmness. And we're not going to get it if we're trying to resolve something. And, the fires are being poked, to make the flames go higher. And it's like, who benefits from that? Absolutely no one, except maybe the lawyer's fees.
Right. That's a really good point about society as a whole. I'm finishing a book that I hope to publish this next year called Living Higher Law. And it's about taking those spiritual principles of empathy, compassion, forgiveness, trust, calling in higher powers and higher principles, and applying that to every area of life,
Yes.
like activism and changing the laws, advocating, um, even if it's on the streets. It's been shown that nonviolent action is about twice as effective in creating social change as violent. So that nonviolent action has that core of respect and empathy for the other person, right? So we do need that in all aspects of our life, in education and policing and
Yes.
prisons and
Yes.
courts and how the government treats its people, etc. So
Yep.
there's while I deal with people in legal conflicts, the overall vision for law as a whole is much, much larger, to raise law or human law into the realm of divine law.
Yeah. It's kind of like the codes of conduct, is it? I like is
The
you're
golden
gonna
rule.
have the you know, the focus, speak your word with integrity, you know, don't assume, you know, ask, do your very best measured by you, and what was the other one? It's Don Rue, that's who it is. And there is the other one there, and I've forgotten what it is right now. I'll come up in a moment. But
Don
I think
Ruiz, don't
Don
take
Rue,
anything
right, yes.
personally.
Yes,
Yeah.
don't take things personally.
Yeah.
Ask, don't assume. Speak your word with integrity. And also, your very best is not measured by anyone else, it's measured by you. You know if you've put your best foot forward or not, right? It doesn't matter what other people's opinions are. And I think the four beautiful, simple codes, that if we have those kind of codes / laws of conduct in life, they become our compass, right? And it doesn't mean that we can't expand and spread those wings and fly, but if we have that compass of it coming from the heart and the soul, the integrity of the heart and the soul, of not wishing to do anyone harm, including ourselves, and
Yes.
you know, that kindness and caring equals love. And if we do it from that heart space, then the conflict doesn't have a chance to gain roots. You know, you're looking at it all from a solution base, but the heart solution base, because we want everyone to win. It's not about the competitiveness, which is what it's become about. We want it to be about the cohesiveness and the collaboration. And how can everybody come out here as a winner? That's really what the solution is, not the one-upmanship that has been promoted. So I love this, because that's pretty well what you're saying, is kind of following those, the laws of the universe that to live by. And then very often we won't get into the conflict anyway, right? Because we'll know what to do when it arises. We know how to center ourselves, take that breath, and then see it, listen to the other person's perspective. Just because you're using different language, or you might not see it quite that way, it's sometimes good to have that other person who could see the other side, the 4 points, and then you see the whole picture, and it becomes less about you and more about, oh, we can resolve this.
Yes. Yes. And it feels so good, because this is really about inner work and personal development. Most of us want to have a loving and peaceful life and live with more of those qualities. And to understand that you can do that, and it's more effective and powerful to be more peaceful and caring, compassionate, even in the midst of conflict, it's incredibly effective, incredibly powerful. So you get the double win of, you're feeling better about yourself, you're more calm, you're sleeping better, you're not in anxiety or depression, you're not in that anxiety dorsal state.
Yes.
Where you don't want to live. It just ages us and wears us down and takes our energy and makes our life negative.
Right? Yeah,
Just
disease.
ease. Yeah, we want to get into that state of calm and caring ourselves. That's so good for our body, our health, our system, our mind. And then to act from that, even in conflict, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to see in action, and it's very effective.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about productivity. Productivity at whose expense? If it's costing the planet, if it's costing the people too much, if it's costing life forms too much, then how can it be productive? When we put, people, planet, life forms first, before profit. The profit will come when we invest in the people, in this beautiful planet, in each other. If we're there to egg each other on instead of compete with each other or compare with each other, because there's enough to go around for everyone. And when we start working with each other collaboratively, like an orchestra, this is my instrument, I'm bringing it to the orchestra. This orchestra is only as good as everybody's instrument and heart and soul playing it. So I think, that cohesiveness is something that we really do need, isn't it? Embrace everybody's view of life and find the harmony in it.
Yes, yes. And we hold that harmony and light. Like often in these conflict situations, the other side, eventually comes around usually to also being softer and more calm, but not always.
Right.
So we can't see this as a technique that we're going to do to change somebody or change a situation. At times, you just have a really awful attorney or person on the other side, but you keep holding to kindness. You hold the light. Sometimes I talk about this as a battle of energies, right? If somebody comes at us harshly, the knee-jerk reaction is to come back the same way. And that's where everybody gets burned. But we hold our own energy. We find our peace within and elsewhere. And even if we need to take a time out, a gracious pause, and deal with the emotions, and then come back, we choose to come back in the calmness and fairness. And most of the time, that will diffuse the situation. But even if it doesn't, once you get into deposition or arbitration and trial, and you're holding that calm, fair, confident, likable, friendly persona, and the other person is all over the place and angry and everything,
frothing at the mouth,
you are going to win.
Yes. I can imagine, even with judges, day in and day out, they see these conflicts, and very often, justice may not be served, or you see the pain and the anguish that the cost for whatever that win was has just made everybody a loser, because, you may have won the case, but now what? Your health, the bitterness between the other party. But you do have some people who are not willing to do the gracious pause, are not willing to face themselves from the inside out, not willing to go through the process of self-healing. And it's like, it's your fault, it's everybody else's fault. There's three fingers pointing back at you, right? What happens to us very often is subliminally invited. And until we can find that calmness and serenity within ourselves, we're projecting our own misery upon everyone else and holding them accountable for it. When no, mate, it's your accountability.
Yes.
But getting there, that's the question, right? We did number 4, was it? Or what number are we on?
Yeah, number 5 is once you've done all this inner work on the emotional, mental, physical stress release level, and you've gathered information, meditated, prayed, you plan the way forward and then take action. And then you communicate to your attorney what you want them to say to the other side or do in the case, or you do the communication, but you're from this calm, grounded place. So all of the inner work, and then it's taking action. And the action can be very firm. I mean, this isn't about being a wimp. It's not about giving up. It's not about surrendering or running away, because that's also a dorsal, stress reaction is to give up or go away. So you have this inner strength, right? So you can ask for, like, if you're in a case and it is about money, let's say somebody's run you over in a car and you have a bunch of medical bills and a couple of years to recover. You want to convince the insurance company to give you a good payout to cover yourself and all that you've gone through. So it's not about giving up, giving in. You still be strong and go for what is right, but you do it with this kindness. Right? This centeredness. There's such a power in that.
Kindness towards yourself.
And towards others, yes.
It will reflect out kindness to others. If you're not kind to yourself, then how can you be kind to others? But then you've got
Yeah.
the other people who are kind to everyone else but themselves.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. We want
there's
we
so many
want
layers.
both. I know. We want everything. We start with self-compassion,
Right.
self-care. That's what gets us out of this reactive dorsal
Yeah.
state. We love the heck out of ourselves
Yeah.
in whatever way we need to do that. And then we come back to that
Mm.
balanced place. And then we start the next steps.
Do you find it, especially after a year or 20 months or more of COVID, the political unrest before that, everything was being wound up. And then for a few months there during lockdown of COVID and everybody kind of was at home, they took that deep breath they needed. Many of them it was a wonderful, beautiful review of life
Mm,
of I'm pivoting, I'm not going to do that anymore, burning me out. I've lost sight of what really is important.
mm,
For many people, it became a gift, and other people, it became their worst hell because they
mhm,
were at home with themselves and not willing to open up that door and look at it as a gift of time to go in. And so we've got so many people that are out there that are still so angry and just begging someone to pay for their pain, to
mhm.
be accountable for their pain because there wasn't that willingness or the fear of looking in. But does media excite that? Does social media excite that? Are we losing our centeredness because we're buying into the hysteria?
Mhm. One thing about media and of course social media is they make more money by ginning people up by focusing on the conflict rather than what's working. So unfortunately, yes, it does increase the
Fear
stress and the
cells?
anger and the
It's fear
fighting.
cells? Yeah.
And it's primarily a money motivation. It's
Yes.
it's greed.
Yes.
I want people to come to my channel, to
Right.
watch my news show, to come to my Facebook page or whatever. Um, but there are also people like on social media and Facebook who just exude love
Yes.
and wisdom and
Yes.
care and healing. And
Mm,
so there's also that. So that's what we need to tune into is those kinds of
mm.
teachers and leaders and thought leaders. And media used to be more about just informing people.
Right.
And
Yeah.
with the corporate takeover of most media and the focus on dollars and creating or yeah, even creating controversy in
Yes.
order to get people ginned up. It's really
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Which has been brought to light,
Mhm.
that most certainly. Sorry, I've just seen people walking out there that I don't know who they are. They were on the property, but oh well. When you're managing a place, it's like
Yeah.
Um, I think the thing with the medium, with everything in life, is what you seed and water is what will grow. So, what kind of garden do you want in your life?
Mhm.
Do you want it full of thistles and weeds and things that are going to take over and strangle everything else in there? Or would you like to see a garden of beauty and abundance and productivity and longevity and sustainability and all of that? And
Mhm.
all of the social medias are an algorithm, but so are we. So if we can
Mhm.
get into an algorithm of where we are feeding, that growth, that beauty, that peace, that calmness, then that's going to be the kind of garden we will have. And the people that are really in conflict for conflict's sake won't want to go near you because they can't get a rile out of you,
That's
right?
right.
So they're going to go to the people that they know they can push those triggers very easily. And we know that fear sells. Fear is an incredible control factor because if you've got people
Mhm.
afraid, now you're going to sell them the solution and you've got them right where you want them. And there's
Mhm.
no accountability. There's no
Mhm.
participation in their own lives. It's okay, I've given my life up to this person because they said they will look after me. In the meantime, I'm on their strings, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we do have to take ownership and accountability of our own choices, don't we?
Yes. Yes. That's the way to peace. That's the way
Mhm.
to a more beautiful life.
Are you lecturing to other lawyers this wonderful holistic approach?
Not so much. I've decided because there are lawyers who do that. There's a couple of my colleagues who go around and speak at the bar
Mhm,
association things and write books for lawyers.
mhm.
I've decided to focus on people, the
Right,
non-lawyers.
right,
Yeah.
right. Well, yeah, because if you educate the people on what to ask of the lawyer and what to look for in a lawyer that's going to represent you in the way that you want, not just your case, you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think what people need to know is, how do I find such a person? Well, we got one right here, folks. But if you're not in their area, how do they find such a person? What kind of questions do they ask a lawyer? How do they know if this person isn't all lip and really does have their interest at heart? Do you have any wisdom you can impart there?
Well, yes. First, of course, is to make that decision yourself, that you're going to be as strong as you need to do to take care of yourself, but you're going to be compassionate, and then to interview lawyers. And I also want to say that although I'm a licensed attorney in California and I just take cases in California, with my coaching practice, my holistic coaching practice, I can work with anybody from anywhere.
Anywhere. Yes.
And one thing I do is help people find a lawyer. I'm really good at interviewing lawyers, of course. I can be very quick. I can suss them out.
Right.
One example, a couple of years ago, there was a problem with administering an estate. There were some problems with the will that was created, and it ended up being complicated. I interviewed 3 attorneys for this client. 2 of them wanted a $5,000 flat fee.
Right.
And the third one I found was a great guy, like 18 years experience, knew what he was doing, did the whole thing for $1,200. So another client I recently negotiated for, this was a high-level partner they needed for their case, partner attorney. His fee was $550. I negotiated him down to $500 an hour for my client. Over the course of the case, that's a few $1,000s, even over a few months. So you can hire somebody like me to help you find a lawyer.
Right, that's excellent.
Or just interview people yourself. Another advantage.
I think for people, I mean, certainly, going through the coaching with you, to find themselves and their center, and then it's clearer what they need to ask from other people. But, if somebody's in a turmoil of something, they're in anxiety, and, they need someone to tell them, get centered, let's be calm, let's look at this from a different vibration. And then you need, that person is going to represent you. It's hard for someone, I think, that's in that situation. So really, you coach people on that, but I think a lot more kind of even generic courses could go out there, is, preparing to find a lawyer, what you need to do, not in looking for the lawyer, but what you need to do to find the right lawyer, because you need to find it within yourself first, don't you?
Yes, you need to make that choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything is a choice. Abstaining from a choice is a choice. And, I think also if you're going into any court thing with, I'm going to win and I don't care what it costs, just as long as the other person loses, you're already a loser with that attitude. So if it is, I want to seek the justice, I want to seek the balance, I want to see a resolve where everybody can benefit to the best of their ability, then you're going in with a winner's attitude.
Yes. On the most important levels.
Yeah.
Again, being a loving, peaceful person and helping to bring that to the world. We really needed that. You were speaking of the conflict and anger. We need to bring that to all aspects of our lives.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the choice, and it can be done. And my main message is you can do that even in litigation, and it's highly effective.
But never mind the litigation of that moment. The practice now becomes something you're going to take into everything else that you're going to do in life. So you don't get yourself into that conflict that needs litigation down the road, right?
Yes. I had one client who was getting calls from the IRS for some past bills that were due, and she was terrified. She didn't want to even talk to him. So I coached her in how to make a friend of whoever called, to see them as a friend in the making.
Right.
Because about 5% of their calls are with somebody who actually is nice to them. Right?
Yeah.
The others are evasive, lying, angry, fearful, whatever. So she had a call with this guy and had as a human being, had a really nice connection with him. And he ended up zeroing out her tax debt. He wrote her off as uncollectible. And she wrote me a testimonial later and said she used to be so afraid of authority figures. And she's applied this technique in dealing with people from government,
Right.
insurance agents,
Yes.
insurance adjusters. And she's successfully done that. She's just at ease and personable, and she just loves it. So it does affect your whole life and how you deal with other people.
It does. I think, it's a technique that just, it's just going to take you everywhere. I mean, everything in life is relationships. Everything is about relationships. Relationship you have with yourself, with your past, with your loved ones, with your colleagues, with your approach to life, and ultimately, it doesn't matter what work role we're playing in life. We would just like to be seen and heard and not objectified or not ignored or disregarded. It's like we want to know that we're contributing and that we count and that you see us, because ultimately that's, it's kind of what we're looking for in life. And if you can reach out to someone without the conflict and just say, okay, I know you're not to blame, but this has come up. How can we resolve this? But start off by asking, how are you? How's your day? Where are you? Because how many people, talk to them in just an open, setting the stage type way, and instead of come out with the machete or the machine gun immediately.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's conflict. But it's conflict resolution in many ways, isn't it?
It's very much conflict resolution. Yes. Yeah. All our greatest teachers, Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, the situation in South Africa, everything, when you come out with that compassionate approach, it's wonderful. It's a
I mean,
beautiful
you
thing.
look at South Africa, Mandela,
Yes.
27 years in on an island, and I actually went to that island one time while he was there, but we were very guarded and closed off, so we couldn't see anything. And he came out there without the resentment. You must hate the white man. You must hate them. He goes, no. Why waste my time in hate? I've got work to do. And
Yes.
that is grace. And
Yes.
if we could stop looking for someone to pay for it and look at that, whatever happens to us we've got to take some ownership that we either invited it, subliminally. We subliminally kind of invite it because maybe it's an issue we haven't dealt with in ourselves. Or that if you are going to stand up for something, you are pushing back against the people who do not want that change. And, it's not about them individually and you wanting to attack, it's the system that you're wanting to attack. So keep the emphasis on the system and don't turn the hate on each other.
Yes. Yes.
Which I think is a message politically right now we need to see across the board.
Oh,
Right.
yes. Yes.
I'd
Right.
love to see in a massive overhaul of everything, our educational system, the way we support parents raising their children instead of just taking the children away, putting them in a foster home, help the parents be parents, make sure there is a job, a roof over the head, that they've got that support to manage it, bring back the village, right? And,
Yes.
teach people how to deal with conflict instead of guns. The entire legal system, health system, educational system, it's all archaic right now, and it's not serving the people, nor the political. You are civil servants as a political person, and yet it's become about your agenda, your ego, the lobbyists that paid for you to get there, and you've forgotten sight that you're actually working for the people. And I think we kind of need to reset, isn't it? Kind of clear the computer, go back to factory level, and only add the programs that we need.
Right. Right.
Do you see any hope for us?
We need some help, but really
Yes.
love and care for each other and being strong and creating this new world that we want, but also being compassionate, doing it together. I think there's some hope for us. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And well, as you said, you were the only one doing it. Now there are the lawyers that realize the benefits of it. And the more they get out there and speak with other people, and, the more they go actually into the lawyers' institutions, right when they're learning to be a lawyer, if always lead with compassion. That is not weakness. Vulnerability is a gift in many ways. We're so defensive of that, of being vulnerable because we fear of attack. But if we're assured in our vulnerability, then nobody can break our vulnerability down because we are, we are centered and core with that. Then it doesn't matter what they do, they won't have an effect on us. So we've been, as a society, even the police force that used to be there to protect neighborhood and now are out there, they're the threat. They've become kind of the bully. And it's like, I'm sure they didn't sign up for that. Some of them probably did because they're legal bullies, but most cops, I want to be there to serve my community. And so we need to get back to that emphasis, and we need to see on the media a great deal more about those people in all aspects that are serving their community and show the results of what kindness and caring can produce.
Yes.
So you've got this, I am looking at an elk right now, right outside my window. This is beautiful. I'm in a gorgeous area. I'm right on Lake Camerton, snow on the mountains over there, the lake over there, and there is an elk right outside. So it's just, serene. Oh, beautiful, wonderful. So you have your coaching program. Whom do you coach? How do you coach? And also you've got a program that is coming up that's every week that you're going to be talking to people, another coaching program you've got going up. So can you share with us all about that and how people can join and get hold of you?
Okay. Well, first of all, I have a free ebook that goes into some detail about what we've talked about today, those 5 steps. People can just email me, Duane at peaceinthelaw.com, Duane, and I'll send them that book. I do private coaching, personal coaching. So my peaceinthelaw.com site, they can find out about that on the about or the coaching page. And then this new thing I'm doing, I've worked with individual clients for decades now, and I want to reach more people. I want to help more people. So I've started a weekly Zoom call. The first one will be on the 17th of November. And people can sign up right now for $29 a month. And they can see me 4 times a week, an hour each time. And I'll answer questions that are emailed to me in advance. And I'll pick the most relevant or generic or important issues to talk about. So people will get access to this holistic legal coaching at almost no cost, but I'll be able to reach dozens, hundreds of people by doing that. So anyway,
it also sets up a support system of the people that are involved too, right?
It is a kind of support system. They get that support from me. It's not interactive because if people are in litigation, you want to be careful about who you talk to. They can be called in as witnesses. So while one-on-one, I can have confidentiality with clients, but not in a group. So this will be me speaking. I won't say people's names or anything. I'll just say, this question came up. I'm dealing with this difficult person on the other side, or this divorce issue, or this attorney, or whatever it is, and then I can speak to how to handle that.
Right. An educational enlightenment. So for people who are going through it, no matter what stage they're at, these kind of questions, that's a good point to bring up in my case. Or that came up and I didn't know how to answer it. Now I'm better situated. So you're sharing your goodies.
Sharing my goodies, yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. It is a rarity to see a lawyer that is out there for the people, because yes, it has got misconstrued. And just as like I say, you've got police and doctors and this and that go into for the right reasons, even politicians that go into it for a right reason, but then there's contaminated waters, a system that's broken. And, good for you for kind of deciding to change the system. And clearly the momentum is growing because people see the benefit of this. And you're already in a conflicting situation. The last thing you need is conflict with your lawyer or going in with everything as a fight, because I still don't see anybody who's winning. No, it's you. If it's a battle, you come away. You may have won, but you've made enemies, or the feeling that you feel dirty, or you feel, broken in some ways. It's just like you would like to come out with the resolve where you feel you did your very best, you put your best foot forward. The results you can live with because it was fair.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Fairness, that's something we all look for, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that link, I think, yeah, I sent you the link to where people can find out about my weekly coaching call. And
Yes.
I have a little video there and testimonials and case examples and everything. And people can check it out. They can sign up if they get a full refund within a month if it's not for them.
Right.
So yeah, I invite people to check out that page.
So for the people just listening, I invite you to come to the page anyway. As I said, just put in Duane Light in selfdiscoverymedia.com and both of his shows will come up. But this one is peaceinthelaw.Kartra, KARTRA.com. And then it's /page/transformative legal coaching. So that is out there. Also, he does flute meditation and numerous other things here. So dive in and really look at what he does, because he can't bring forth, the calmness and the peace on the battlefront if it wasn't something that was within him, and he's done his own journey to get there, and your own techniques like the flute and many other things that you do to find that serenity within yourself that you'll help your clientele find within themselves. So please go back and listen to the other show, look at the book, read the book. Oh my goodness, he's giving it away, for goodness sake. Read the book, have a book club and talk about it, right? This is how we share that information. And what is your actual site name, love?
It's peaceinthelaw.com.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So peace in the law. Oh, doesn't that sound nice? It really does. And that peace in the law also, you're talking about within us, right? That law of gravity, that law of quantumness. And if we can find that peace and serenity within us, we can approach everything from a much different point of view, which is important. It's been wonderful having you back here again.
It's great seeing you, Sarah, and hanging out for a while. Yes.
Please come back when the book is out next week. I mean, next year, putting pressure on you next year. I mean, it's a book that is very much needed. People are looking for tools, they're looking for wisdom, they're looking for things that are helping them navigate a different path, because they know the path that we're on right now is not working. So, anything out there that can help people redirect themselves, gain the tools to go through the process and stay connected to heart, soul, and spirit, because that's really where the wisdom lies. This is information, isn't it? We don't know what to do with this information unless we engage the heart, soul, and the spirit. Now we actually understand what the mind needs to know when it needs to know it.
Yes. Yes.
And of course, you're on Facebook as well, right? It's Duane Light.
Yes, Duane Light 1, I think is that. But you can look up Duane Light, and I think there's only a few of us, but you'll recognize me.
Yes, and that is DUANE.light, .1 for Facebook, and on LinkedIn it's just Duane-Light. And reach out to him, please. And do not be afraid to ask a question, and do not be afraid to just say, okay, how do I center myself? Because somewhere along the line, we're going to have some form of conflict, and we really do need to know how to approach it. And, put down the machete and the machine gun. That's not the right approach. Take the deep breath, be graceful, and just step into a beautiful symphony of warmth, openness, and caringness, and then you will actually see the results will change for the better.
Yes.
Wonderful having you back here again, Duane, and everybody else. Whether you're going into whatever conflict with, it's conflict with self, but most certainly somewhere along the line you're going to have to deal with a legal issue. Let Duane help you, let him guide you, and just sign up for this program right now. $29 a month, it's nothing, and the magnitude of information you're going to get from it is just going to be phenomenal. So Duane Light, just put it in the search engine at selfdiscoverymedia.com. Both shows are there. Don't forget to share this with other people you know that are going through the same situation or before they go through it. And just remember, we resolve a great deal more in calmness and serenity, in that clarity, than we do in angst and anger. So thank you, Duane. Until next time, folks. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.